He separates. He's to the 20, to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown, Florida State. Warwick got up third down.
Winky, wants to throw the knockout punch to Warwick. Warwick open. Touchdown. He does a touchdown. He did catch it. Touchdown, Florida State. Oh, Peter Warwick, how'd you do that?
Kermit Whitfield to the left side. A hole to the 30. Kermit Whitfield to the 30, to the 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, FSU. Kermit Whitfield, a 100-yard touchdown.
Here's the snap. Winston rolling right. Throws the pass on the other.
It's caught! It's caught! It's caught! Touchdown, FSU! Kelvin Benjamin!
We're doing it for everybody. We're doing it big all over the country, all over the world. And I'm proud. I'm proud to say I'm a Florida State Seminole.
This is the Garnet and Old Podcast with your hosts, Ryan Eastman and Vince Ciccarelli.
The Garnet and Old Show. No inside info, no contacts, no problem. Another week, and we are so close, Vince, to the spring showcase. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Ryan. No audio problems, no video problems thus far.
It's beautiful.
We are back every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and maybe some other media outlets here shortly. So we're coming at you live every week.
Absolutely. And we got some cleanup items that we're just going to touch on because honestly, like this Saturday, we're going to really get into it on this show about talking about the plans and you know what to expect this Saturday from Garnet and Old and after Saturday. But there are a few items that came up that we found interesting before we get into the actual spring game this weekend. And I want to start with Jim Phillips. Today, he got a 3-year extension, bringing him almost to the end of the decade, which you would assume would be to the end of the death of the ACC by that point. So, Vince, what's your knee-jerk reaction, man? Jim Phillips getting an extension, does it even matter?
Well, I would tell you, I was in a meeting all day today at work, and that came across my phone, and they were talking about a 3-year extension, which is basically 3 more years to oversee the gradual death of the conference. I guess there was some rumor that the Big Ten was looking at him, and I don't know that that having a 3-year extension with the ACC, keeps that from going forward. And I don't necessarily have a problem with the guy because he was handed a pretty raw deal, right? I don't know what could happen out of that, but anyway, he'll be around for the last 3 years of the conference. At least that's the way I take it to be. The last 3 years.
Well, hopefully we are out long before his contract extension ends, and I do think we will be. I really think in the next 5 years, we at least have an announcement of some sort that hopefully Florida State is headed toward a greener pasture, and that is pun intended, more money involved for Florida State. Aside from Jim Phillips, we had some really, really encouraging news today. Dimitri Emmanuel, who's been on the team for forever, and was a really impactful player last year on the offensive line. He applied for a waiver to get an additional year to be able to play for Florida State again. And we never know. Like, listen, even if you think it's 100% going to happen, sometimes the NCAA gives you 2 middle fingers. See Baba Miller this past year. So we were waiting for months for this news. And today it finally came down. Dimitri Emmanuel will be returning and playing another year at Florida State. And it just adds, Vince, to the depth of this offensive line. I think it's ready to hit the ground running. I think we're going to be a problem for a lot of teams.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Dimitri Emmanuel, this will be his 7th year. So, and he was a transfer in, right? So he played some of his ball somewhere else. I don't even remember where, to be honest with you. But
in the 90s.
Yeah, so he's been around a while. They call him Big Meech, right? And I was just reading something online that with the returning starter or with the returning linemen, there are 100 starts at the FSU school, right, at FSU, 100 starts there, and 214 college starts overall across the line. That is a significant amount of tenure and experience and, just knowing the game. So, bring it on. And we're waiting on another waiver, right? So getting one on the offensive line is fantastic. I just sometimes want to pinch myself. The things have been going so well, and I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, please don't.
But we're waiting, Ryan. We're waiting on another ruling as well, are we not?
We are. I'm interested to see should we even go there, because I don't want to jinx anything, Vince. If you want to spoil it, go ahead. I think we should save it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big believer in jinxing, right? Things are going to happen because they're going to happen, right? And the NCAA has been known to do some ridiculous things, and that is not going to stop anytime soon. But Daryl Jackson, who is a transfer from the University of Miami, defensive lineman, great prospect. They say that he may be the one with the most upside as far as pro potential. He's waiting on a waiver because this will be his second transfer. He transferred from Maryland. Was it Maryland?
With a hardship transfer, yeah.
Yeah, he went from Maryland to Miami, and then he was at Miami for a year, and then he transferred. So you can only transfer once without having to, go through some kind of pain and suffering. But he's waiting on a waiver from the NCAA because the reason for his second transfer to Florida State is because of illness in his family, and his family is closer to Tallahassee, obviously, than to the U. So we're waiting on that one. And but you never know.
Yeah, with the NCAA, waiting it's always pain everywhere. So all we can do is hope and pray that everything goes well. Do I think he will get it? Yeah, probably. Usually the NCAA is kind with when family illnesses are involved. But he played against Florida State, and he was not easy to handle. So I'm looking forward to seeing him on the other side, abusing, the canes, hopefully in the year to come.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing if he does get the waiver for that game, right? It's not often that you get a transfer from one of your rivals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one that is that significant, and one that is going to play immediately. Like usually in the old days, you might get a transfer, but then you had to sit a year, right? So maybe that newness of that was my old team, this is my new team, that's kind of gone away. But this would be interesting for sure.
And last but not least, we're going to talk a lot about the upcoming spring games. So this Saturday, for those of you who are not aware, hopefully you are, being that you're listening to this podcast, Florida State, they don't call it the spring game anymore. They call it the spring showcase.
Right.
It'll be at 4:00, but at the Civic Center earlier in the day, there will also be, what we used to call media day. Get to meet some of the players, get some items signed. I don't know that Vince and I will be at that event. We may be traveling during that period up to Tallahassee, but our plans are as follows. We are going to leave the morning on Saturday morning. We are going to go to God's country, stop at a certain gas station. Yep, at the Busy Bee along the way. Maybe grab some bee-bits and enjoy the restroom facilities, as one is wont to do on the way to Tallahassee.
Beef jerky. Maybe a little beef jerky.
If there's enough time. Then we are going to be heading probably directly to Lot 6, which for those of you who aren't familiar with lots at Florida State, is right on top of Doak Campbell Stadium. It is the Doak Campbell Stadium parking lot between Doak and the baseball fields. And we will be setting up a tent and some chairs and hopefully have you checked the weather report, Vince? It's been a pretty rainy week.
It's been a pretty rainy week, but I am of the opinion that Saturday will be as it should be.
That's foreboding. That definitely makes me worried, but I'm going to check the weather. Even if it rains, though, we're going to make a good time of it. But come and see us over at Lot 6. We will have some koozies if you walk by, and we'll probably give them away to just people passing by asking if they would like some. We will also be recording a live show, probably about 2 hours before the actual start of the spring showcase. So I would assume around 2 o'clock we can make that happen, even if it's only a quick 10 to 15 minute live stream. And then immediately following the spring showcase, we will be doing a report from outside Doak Campbell Stadium live, giving our thoughts and our opinions. Are you excited, Vince?
I am excited. I'm always excited to go back, Ryan. I'm always excited to go back and, not only just to, be there, but to be among my people, to be among friends, be among family, be among the people that have the passion that you have, that I have, that we all share. And of course, the Marching Chiefs, right? To be among that family that I have, and going through and watching them go through what they go through during the spring game. Food, always great. The food will be great. The atmosphere will be great. The weather will be great. The company will be phenomenal. And we need to talk about, what we might be doing in terms of food, Ryan.
Well, I've heard a verified rumor, Vince, that I got excited about, and I had it verified today, that Indo Campbell, Vince, for the spring showcase, one register sausage will be for sale at the spring game on Hoagies, I believe. And there will be a contest that Register is running. If you tag yourself, and you can find the information on Twitter. They're not a sponsor of the show, but an enjoyable product. For those of you who love sausage as much as I do, we will be eating lots of sausage at the game. I have a feeling, and trying to win. I believe they're going to do some sort of giveaway, Vince.
Yeah, I mean, I've signed up for a few giveaways myself this week. There's a couple of entities that are doing spring showcase packages, and I probably would have found out now if I've won, so I probably did not win. But there's a number of things you could sign up for and win, like tickets and food for you and 20 of your closest friends, and that whole thing. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this whole weekend is about camaraderie, and the hype train is already rolling, Ryan. This is going to be another car. There's somebody shoveling coal in the steam engine right now, getting this thing revved up.
And Vince, because I think we should do this lean for the tailgating experience, because we're not there yet. Save the full tailgate experience, the Mac Daddy experience for the actual football season. But what I think we should do is save the Tallahassee local experience for dinner after the spring game. And I think that on the way to Doak Campbell Stadium, maybe there's a stop at a certain holy chicken restaurant that serves delicious chicken. Maybe there's a stop at a Kingdom of Donuts that might be on the way. The world's our oyster, Vince, for that morning and that evening, because we are staying at the A-Loft downtown that night, so we can fully enjoy the spring showcase.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of decisions to be made, and there are not a lot of decision makers along with us. So we really are, like you said, the world is our oyster. Whatever you want this weekend to be, it's going to be that. So, yeah, Lot 6. We're going to do the pregame show, or the pre-showcase show. Mainly, I got to tell you folks, though, mainly the reason for that is for us to test our remote gear to make sure that we're ready to go for the fall. And then we'll, partake of that and enjoy the showcase itself. Hey, one thing we have not talked about, Ryan, and this came out in this last week since our last show, is who the coaches are going to be for the spring showcase. You want to reveal that if folks haven't already
Vince,
heard that news?
I'm going to be honest with you. I did not know this piece of information.
Oh, well, here we go. So the spring showcase, this started a few years ago, where Mike Norvell decided to allow outsiders to coach the two teams.
Vince, are you going to be on the field?
Wouldn't that have been the prize to win?
Mm-hmm.
But student body left, student body right. That's the extent of my video game knowledge. But it started out with the media. They did a media year where media members were. This year, they've got two members of the 1993 National
Oh, Charlie
Championship
Ward.
team.
I did know this. Yes.
And
It was Charlie Ward, and a defensive player was Terrence Brooks.
I think it's Henry Crockett, I think.
I knew it was a
is the
defensive player, though, right?
1993, Right. And on the other team, be two members from the 2013 championship team. One, Carlos Williams, and the defensive player.
I'm going to pull it up right now, Vince.
Yeah, I think is it PJ Williams?
I think so. I did see
now.
this tweet a couple days ago.
Yeah, and so, hey, think about
It
this,
is
man.
Carlos Williams and PJ Williams, and then Charlie Ward and Henry Crockett.
There you go. So you got one offense, one defense from both of the championship years, 93,
Mm-hmm.
2013. Guess what this year is?
It would make sense, yes. It's time. We are definitely a team of it seems like
Patterns.
sequencing. Yeah, patterns.
Yeah. So that would be how many years? Obviously 10 years from the last title.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're looking at 30 years.
There's only one problem with this, though. Jordan Trapp's last name doesn't start with a W. That was one of the patterns for a long time. But we do have Winston Wright.
Sure. I think Jordan Travis would be willing to temporarily change his name to Ravis.
Teola Winston.
WRAVIS, just for the bulk of this season until we secure something that would be kind of fun.
I want to ask from the crowd, though, in the comments or email us at garnetandold@gmail.com. But in the comments of this video, if you're watching live, where should Vince and I have dinner in Tallahassee? What's your favorite Tallahassee joint? We have a few, but we don't know all of them. When you've been away from Tallahassee for as long as we have living there, there's places that pop up every day. And Vince, I'm sad to say, my Chinese restaurant, my beloved Chinese buffet on North Monroe has closed. It is closed.
Oh, what was that one? I can't remember the name of that one.
The one right by Krispy Kreme and Whataburger
Yeah.
It's gone, Vince. It's gone.
No.
But there is a new
sign. Might be a sign from above.
There is a new popular sports bar that will be taking the place of Jim and Milt's soon. Did find that out.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have any idea, Vince, of where you'd like to go? I was thinking maybe Kush's.
Maybe. Sure.
I would if the weather is good, to find an outdoor patio.
And I really would like, when we make this decision, that we're able to relay this early on so that anyone from our listenership may want to join. Join us. So that would be fun. And but you're right. The options abound. Every culinary delight that you could possibly imagine is available to you in the 850, as you know.
Straight from the 850, also known as Tally Ho. Vince, before we get into, I guess, our final thoughts on this weekend, let me tell you what. I have some good spring game memories.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In 2007, I went to a spring game, and I brought a ball with me and got it signed by the legendary Coach Bobby Bowden, which was a great memory for me to be able to actually have a signed football. I'd met him before, but it's the first time I've gotten that signature. And then there was a football player on the team, a wide receiver. I could look it up real quick. The 2007.
2007. This is bad
Seven.
podcasting. Right
No,
here.
we'll edit this on the podcast version. It's just terrible
That's
for the
true.
live listeners.
This is bad live TV here.
I can pull it up though. Right now, he was a wide receiver.
2007, huh?
Yep.
Is that Greg Carr time?
It was, but it was not Greg Carr that I'm talking about. I'm pulling it up now. Rod Owens.
Oh,
Mr. Rod Owens.
Big Rod Owens.
Yes. My girlfriend at the time, I won't name her here because I'm happily married, Vince, but my girlfriend at the time,
Good call.
Her friend that she went to school with was dating Rod Owens at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And without me knowing, I didn't notice at the time, she took that Bobby Bowden football and she had Rod Owens walking around during practices to every player on the 2007 FSU team. So the ball that's right here is the entire FSU roster that year, and I didn't have to do a thing. And it was presented to me in this nice case in a limited edition ball. So that's, hey, 2007, I'm definitely not an all-time great team. But it's a cool thing that I got. How awesome is it to ever get an entire team signature on a ball by the players and a player passing it around? So that's my fun story from a spring great game.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of standout memories from a spring game.
What about Willie's spring game? The lines and the excitement.
I think the best thing about that was Salt and Peppa.
Mm-hmm. And swag surfing.
And swag surfing. Yeah, I remember that. That was pretty recent. But most of my spring game memories, are just kind of, I was going to school and I had to be there anyway because of the Chiefs. We participate. But yeah, I don't have a lot of memories. But if you want to talk about memories about autographs, I do have an autograph memory.
Sure, let's rapid fire.
Kind of relates, right? This was 1992, I believe.
I was 5.
Yep. Thank you for that.
Garnet and Old.
And we were flying in an airplane on our way to Albuquerque, New Mexico, with the Florida State basketball team who had just won their first. To the Sweet 16, had beat their first 2 opponents in Boise, and we were flying on the plane. This is awesome. We're flying on the plane with the team, the pep band, and I had secured a large placard that originally resided in a stanchion within the airport terminal, but it really wasn't doing its job like it should have, and I thought that maybe it could be repurposed in another way.
Mm-hmm.
And so this large piece of cardboard, on the back of it was blank. It was white. And so as we're on the plane traveling, I pass this thing forward, and I have most of, if not all of the members of the 1992 basketball squad.
That's cool.
Signatures on that placard. Yeah. And the airport didn't need it. It didn't need it. So I also was able to reuse something in a recycling, caring about the environment manner.
Vince was then escorted off the plane.
And that's still in my garage. I don't have it hanging right now. It needs to be reframed. The frame that I have it in kind of fell apart. It's really, it's large. It's very large. But you name it. Bob Sura, Rodney Dobard, Charlie Ward, Doug Edwards, you name it. I got them all.
The one spring game, actually, in the spring game memory that I'll never forget is just 2013 Jameis's coming out party in the spring game where he missed a pass and hit some gorgeous it was over the shoulder touchdown passes, and there's still video out there. I think there was one video that was called The Chosen One, where it starts with it's the YouTube video, something proven wrong, Jameis Winston proving the world wrong, which I think everyone knew he was going to be great. So I'm not sure that's the reason why we.
Yeah.
But it was a compilation video of him first throwing the football over a frat house and then his spring game performance. But I remember being in that spring game being like, what, who is this guy? Like, he seems better than who I've already seen on the team. And then sure enough, the Pittsburgh game happens and you're like, oh, that's who he is.
Well, that's a good point, Ryan. I mean, the spring showcase isn't like, it's not gonna answer all the questions that we have.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, this team that we have right now has fewer questions than we've had in a long, long time. But you can, how Jordan Travis is going to be, right? We're not going into this going, I wonder who the quarterback is going to be. But you could see other players that maybe, have just been buried on the depth chart for a little, just because of age, because of experience, because of physical growth. Some of those folks might pop on the scene, and you'll be like, oh, okay.
That's what I think will happen with the tight end transfers.
So that's what we're going to do now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that room itself, has been serviceable, I think would be the fair way to call that room. But it has a chance to be a real weapon, depending on how these transfers do. So I wanted to mention something. I want to go back to what you said about Jameis Winston and how people, like proving people wrong, right? And how it's kind of like, there weren't a lot of people that didn't think he could play, right? So it's almost like a farce. And we see that a lot these days, right? Who was it? Was it Georgia was talking about how they were disrespected all year, and how nobody thought that they could do anything, right?
Okay.
Like who are they talking to? Like, I guess you have to manufacture the adversity, right? You have to manufacture that.
You got to yellow brick road it, as Jimbo once said,
Yeah, you got to rat trap it.
Dallas to Dallas. Attitude of domination, mentality, whatever it was.
Yeah, to stop and smell the roses was the way it finally turned out.
But Vince, you brought up a good point, and you kind of led me into my answer already. I was going to ask you who your number one person you're looking forward to, I guess, seeing break out, because I don't think either one of us, like, we know Jordan Travis is going to be fine. We know who's going to be amazing, but the player I'm most looking forward to seeing is Jaheim Bell from South Carolina, just because any team in the country who has a tight end that has hands and can catch and can block is generally a problem. And if we have him paired with the other wide receivers like Johnny Wilson, on our team, well, then you're talking like someone who is, you're talking like how we had Kelvin Benjamin, Nick O'Leary, that was great, right? Having, by the way, did you know he was Jack Nicklaus's grandson?
Really? No, really?
Yeah, Nick O'Leary, yeah. So that year, in the 2013 year, I don't know about you, like a lot of people, of course, Kelvin Benjamin was great, Rashad and everything. My favorite player that year was having a tight end, because every time the man caught the ball, he would devastate someone and just destroy them and fall forward for a first down. I love a good catching tight end.
Yep. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So you got Jaheim Bell and you've got Kyle Morlock.
Morlock,
as well.
Yeah.
And of course, was it Biscuit was also starting to come on toward the end of last year as well. So that room, as much as people made fun of how many tight ends we had, has really turned around. So,
we know from Norvell's previous teams that when he has someone who can play, he loves to use the tight ends in that offense, and we have not yet seen that part because we haven't had the hosses.
I'll tell you, I don't have any. All things aside, forget about everything else. I do not worry about Mike Norvell utilizing the weapons that he has wherever they are. That is always going to occur. It's always going to occur. And 1 year it may be running back. 1 year it's, whatever it is.
That sure could be everything.
It could be. It could, and that could be weird too, right? Because, how do you're like giddy. You're like a kid on Christmas morning. Which toy do I play with first?
Yeah.
And you could, the whole day could go by and you didn't really enjoy yourself. But well, the thing that I want to see, just because it's been such a talking point for years and years and years now, is I want to see just the depth and flexibility and just pure solidness of the offensive line.
Yeah, where like we see like 3 rotations and they're all fine.
Yeah, and you're saying like obviously the people the names we're used to, but then you get the transfers, which we're getting used to those names, right? And then what about the younger guys, right? That didn't have to play so early last year, right? But now
Yeah.
here they are, and they're going to be, put into spot duty from time to time, hopefully often because of the scores of the games, hopefully.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to me, that I know this sounds strange because scoring points is like the most exciting thing, but watching that group and seeing that group kind of gel together to me is probably the most exciting thing for me to watch.
Yeah, it was starting to be nice last year, especially the second half of the year. To see Jordan Travis just sit back there and read a defense without running for his life like he had every other season. And what do you know? In those games, we blew people out. So it's a correlation. I mean, a lot of times teams with good offensive lines end up having amazing offensive numbers. Where if you took that same skill group and quarterback and put them with a terrible offensive line, I mean, isn't what we're talking about the difference between 2013 and 2014 Florida State is we had that senior offensive line in 2013, but boy was it thin. And then when we kind of had some turnover and some issues, Jameis would get pressured and he would throw pick after pick after pick, and we'd have to come back in some of these games. We still have the skill players for days, and we still had, players all over the field. But if that offensive line changes, it just makes your life miserable. And that's when it becomes hard to watch Florida State football. And that's what we've been through before last year for 6-7 years. And it was painful because even if you had toys to play with, you couldn't even try to use them.
Right. And another way you can equate that is if you look at 2 years ago, right, where the first couple series we were able to move the ball just because of maybe scheme or the skill players themselves. But once the opposing team settled into what we were not able to do in terms of setting the line of scrimmage, it was lights out. There was nothing.
We had to hold on
there.
for dear life.
Had to hold on for dear life. So you had to score as many points as you could while you were scheming stuff, but you could not just impose your will. And we will be able to impose our will in the majority of our games next year. Not all of them, but the majority of them.
And we'll know against LSU where we're at.
Yeah, and I don't see that game as a impose our will game. I see that game as
we've arrived
as an equal, like we're going to win some reps, they're going to win some reps, because you're talking about equal footing there.
What's cool about this, I don't know if you thought about this because it hasn't been that long, but we actually have a really cool little rivalry with just fun games between Brian Kelly and Mike Norvell. Think of every game that we played against them, even at Notre Dame, even when we weren't any good. All of them just seem to be thrillers, like every single one of them. We didn't have the hosses to keep up at the end to seal some of those deals, and we had one-legged quarterback. But I mean, we were having good games against Notre Dame with Mike Norvell, before we were even ready to play on that stage. And now, last year, anyone who watched that game knows we dominated that game last year.
Sure.
And I think this year it's to show we're going to see both how far LSU has come, because I have no doubts that they did improve last year, and they obviously get better in the offseason with the returning quarterback and everything. So it's going to be very interesting because it's tough to beat a SEC, powerhouse like LSU 2 years in a row, and that's what we're trying to do here. And then the next game that will really challenge you to that standpoint will be Clemson. But I want to remind the audience out there this year, there is no ACC Coastal and Atlantic this year.
Correct.
So if we beat LSU and we are, running the table on our ACC schedule, and we lose to Clemson, that's the only loss on the schedule, we can end up playing them in the ACC championship again, which is awesome, and backdooring our way to the playoff picture.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the way it should be. I mean, the divisions themselves, I think, as a concept, as an idea, makes sense, right? But when one division is completely outplaying the other division, and then you have these conference championship games where, the winner of the Atlantic Division, I mean, it was rare that what was the name of the other one? Oh, the Coastal Division.
Yeah.
The Coastal Division
was ever good.
So, and I think there was a stretch of 7 to 8 years where 7 different teams won the division, which from a parity standpoint, you're like, oh, that's awesome. Everybody gets a chance to win their division. But those teams were mediocre at best, and there was no way they were going to win the championship game against the Atlantic Division champion. That division was just another level, or at least the power players in that division were another level above the other division. So in this method, the top 2 teams get to play each other, and it just so happens that you may have already played that team earlier in the season. You may have beat that team. You're going to have to beat them again. Or you may have lost to that team. Now you get another chance to redeem yourself. So yeah, I prefer it this way. And as far as the Atlantic Coast Conference is concerned, those championship games over the last number of years were just, gag. They were not fun to watch. I mean, not just because we weren't there. I mean, they just weren't fun games to watch.
And now think how fun it's going to be when you're getting towards the end of the season, and instead of having like you were watching the 2 divisions and seeing, okay, who on each side could leapfrog the other and ties and tiebreakers and all that stuff. Really, you have one long list just of standings, ACC combined standings, and that's all you're going to have to pay attention to. And it's just going to make it simpler to figure out, who the actual players are. I have no doubt that it'll probably be the normal 4 to 5 teams that are within 3 weeks having a chance still to make their name known. It'll probably be, of course, Clemson, probably us, maybe a North Carolina, probably a soft 9-win Miami team, or maybe not this year, but in the future. And then maybe like a Pitt or Wake Forest.
Think about also, from just keeping your fan base engaged. If we beat Clemson when we play them, that their fan base, their team, they don't have to go into the tank.
Right.
Because it's all still in front of you.
Yeah.
It's all still in front of you. Same thing if we happen to lose that game. It's all still in front of you. You still are in control of your own destiny for the rest of the season. So, I mean, obviously, if you lose too many games, then it doesn't matter. But for that game in and of itself, I mean,
yeah, you can end up with an SEC situation where 2 teams get in, especially when you're looking at our out of conference where we're playing in LSU the first game of the year could be factored into playoff decisions. And for the first time in forever, we're going to actually start preseason rankings where we have a chance to, let's say we beat LSU, but then lose to Clemson. Well, it'll probably, if Clemson's undefeated when they play us, it'll probably be something like a 3 versus 4 or a 2 versus 3 ranked matchup. And when that generally happens on the national stage, usually the loser of the team, if it was a close game, only drops like 2 spots to like number 7 or 6. And so there's still that potential, especially let's say we play Florida and Florida's doing well. We beat Florida. Well, then we're back in the top 5 and we're playing, number 2 Clemson versus number 5 Florida State in the ACC title. That kind of thing can happen. Now, hopefully we beat Clemson twice in 1 year.
Sure.
Which would be the ultimate FU, we're back, which would be great.
That would be notable for sure. That would signal that that things are, the world has righted itself as far as we're concerned.
Because I think people are tired of Clemson. Everyone, not just Florida State fans. I think people are tired of Dabo.
Are they?
Yeah.
I think people get tired of people that win a lot. in general.
For sure, but people also like the former winner who got beat down for a while and now is on their way back. I think of how I feel like when, hypothetically, let's say this year, let's say Texas made it to the playoffs. You know what? I'd probably be like, we didn't. I'd probably be like, you know what, Texas, I'm going to root for them. They've been down for a while. I'm glad they finally made it back up. Like they've been pitiful over there, getting beat down every year.
Sure.
Good for them. But then if they won again next year, then I'd be like, screw them forever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right about that. And let's not kid ourselves. There's as large as our fan base is, as popular as the logo is across this country and the world, and the numbers bear it out. There are a ton of people that revel when we are not doing well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that comes with the territory, and you just got to own that. You got to own it. If you want to be a power player and you want to be a successful program, part of what comes with that is the hater list.
2014 was fun.
Yeah, absolutely was fun. And, embrace the black hat, right? For that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, now we're coming up off the canvas, right? So, Rocky just got knocked down. Mickey died, and he's going in the ring with Clubber. He doesn't have his wits about him.
Now Mickey Andrews is still alive. But
Mickey Andrews is still alive. And Clubber Lang, puts it on him. That's the end of it. Rocky loses the confidence. He's kind of in a world of his own, sick there for a while. But all of a sudden he finds the focus again, and the sleeping giant is awakened. Eye of the tiger, Rock. You got to get it back. I believe we've got it back, and there's going to be some go for it happening.
Yeah, this is the year, and this is how I'll end this conversation today. This is the year that we've been hoping for, which we call the Revenge Tour, where we get to go on to all those teams, to the Wake Forests of the world, the nonsense losses to Wake Forest, the nonsense losses over the years. Last year to was it Louisville, right? That was who he lost to at the last second. NC State last year.
NC State, yeah.
Those losses. We just go, this is the year you go and you just beat down all the programs that you're supposed to be and put them back where they're supposed to be in the pecking order. And this is that year.
Yeah, you're right. I don't want to ever give off the vibe of being entitled, right? Because, there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into building this program and the cachet that it has. And that cachet was built on taking people to the woodshed.
Yeah.
Long before we had any right to do it, right? And for long stretches of time, we got some uppity programs that we need to remind them, little brother, I'm going to hold you at bay. You had some wins there for a while, and good for you. We're happy for you. It's good for the conference, I guess, that you win every now and then. But it's time,
Daddy's back.
Daddy's home. Dad's home.
Yeah.
Now, we're still looking for the paddle, maybe. We forgot where we left the paddle.
Yeah.
But the chickens is coming home to roost, Bobby Boucher.
I promise you, if we make the playoffs this year, it'll also, I fully believe, fast forward the process of another conference calling and us making a deal sooner.
I mean, that's ultimately what, they're not thinking, Mike Norvell's not thinking about that.
Right. But that would be a byproduct.
But a whole program idea of you cannot not think of Florida State if we are going to be operating at the level that we should.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that we are getting there. I don't think we're there yet, Ryan. I think we're getting there.
This is 2012 right now. Like, this feeling of this team is not 2013, because 2013, I honestly, I thought we were going to be fine. But this year is how I felt going into 2012 season, which is expectations are there, but let's hope that they are accurate.
Yeah, I mean, because you never know. I mean, the games have to be played, and while we're sitting here talking about the fact that we should win quite a few games comfortably, you never things happen. Injuries. Another team plays above their level. I mean, there are
Weird
teams,
stuff. Yeah.
weird stuff. The dynasty teams lost every now and then, so it can happen. It can
Yeah.
happen. So we're not
I
saying
mean,
that's
Miami
not
lost to Duke
possible.
on a kickoff return, and that was lateral 30 times. So things happen.
Well, Duke is their big rival, Ryan. That's their
Yeah.
main rival. That and Middle Tennessee State.
Yeah. But with that, I think we're going to end it there, and we are so excited to see all of you out at Joe Campbell. Hopefully this Saturday, come join us in Lot 6. We'll be thrilled to see you and show your support and listen live on Saturday around 2:00, and then I'm going to say around 6:30 or 7. Look for the
We'll
live
put
streams.
something out. We'll put
Yep.
something out and let you know when it's going to be, but they will be shorter, 15, 20 minutes tops. But we'll make sure everybody knows about it ahead of time.
Other than that, though, it's been a great show and another great Garnet and Old Show. No inside info, no contacts, no problem. Thank you, Vince, for another fantastic episode.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you to the listeners out there. We will see you hopefully Saturday. Go Noles.
Go Noles.